Thank you for joining us today as we present to you some findings into the impact of cost of living and work on relationships. Today, we're going to talk about the background of our study, meet the family that we're going to be talking about, present our insights and the recommendations that we have established from our insights. The Department of Family Services and Communities have commissioned a study to determine the contributors toward relationship breakdowns and the biggest pain points to address to either help couples stay together or support them through the fallout of a separation. The family that we're going to be using as our model today is Alison and Bob, both age 44, married for 18 years and have two teenage children. They live in a typical three-bedroom house in Parramatta, which they bought 6 years ago, and they've got a substantial mortgage against this property. Alison is a school teacher and Bob runs his own plumbing business.
Marriage and relationships are hard in normal circumstances, so we will test what impact the cost of living may put onto families and children. Now, divorces occur only after 12 months or more of separation, so it's important to know each year of divorce rate represents separation that occurred at least a year or so before. The graph highlights the difference in percentage when considering CPI with the divorce rate. What can be seen here is peaks of inflation preceding with a peak in divorce rates. The largest peak in inflation in 2021 also coincides with a peak in divorce rates. In context, the amount of people divorcing has been as high as 1.9 to 2.9 couples, which refers to every 1,000 people during the periods of 2001 to 2021. Also highlighting in 2021, there were 56,244 divorces, and this data needs to be treated with caution as the federal and family courts change administration from finalising divorces. Also with respect to 2018 to 2019, figures will be slightly out because data was based on a financial year, not a calendar year like the years 2017 and prior. New South Wales has been highlighted as an area with the largest amount of divorces, with 17,126. Now, CPI measures the changes for pricing of goods in Australia, which measures the rates of inflation. In this graph, you can see that in 2021, the same food, health, housing and transport cost has increased 11%, which exceeds the CPI inflation. This in turn results in the same cost of goods increasing by more than 105.58 more than the 1,000 that was spent in 2019. Aspects such as fuel price roars, costs of vehicles, gas and fertilizers, people coming back from overseas, and food shortages have been partly reasons to explain why this has happened, the impacts of which flow onto families under financial pressure, managing the same income, forcing them to choose how they manage their increased costs by paying bills late, using cheaper food, and compromising healthy food options.
Now, let's take a look at the impact made by property prices across Australia over the last 25 years. Property is always an incredibly contentious issue for families going through divorce, as in most circumstances, the couple will have shared ownership of a single dwelling of which they reside, or perhaps maybe renting. In the event of couples owning a single dwelling together, it is reasonable to consider that they likely will have a mortgage that they are paying off, with the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare reporting that more than 35% of homes across Australia are owned with a mortgage. The data provided indicates the drastic increase in loan size across the country over the last 25 years. The data still demonstrates a rather grim outlook that has mounted increasing pressure on Australians and their families. We also utilized the Reserve Bank's projection data on the value of currency and found that $1 from 1993 would be worth $1.86 in 2018. Although an 86% increase is a substantial bump, it hardly compares to loans that are over 4 times the value than they were 25 years ago. With this sharp increase that we have seen from 1993 to 2018, it should come to no surprise that price increases have become even more exponential in the last 24 months. We can effectively take those numbers from the previous chart and add that percentile increase to the various loan size, which brings the average loan value more than 5 times higher than that of 1993. Now, let's take a look at the numbers with the perspective of assumed cost of living prices in the region of Parramatta. We can develop insights of rent and utilities, taking up the largest share of projected expenses for both individuals and families of 4. With an average monthly salary of $1,395 after tax, the data demonstrates both couples and individuals may still struggle to pay bills, with accrued living costs equating to $4,561 monthly for families and $1,896 for individuals. However, it's important to consider that the individual costs do not take into consideration childcare and expenses, which will mount further pressure on couples who are considering a divorce.
Without doubt, life stress impacts our relationships, and the biggest source of stress often comes from work and caring for loved ones. Over the years since 2004, the number of monthly hours worked by males and females have fluctuated greatly, usually in line with macroeconomic events. For example, hours worked during the 2008 global economic crisis dropped dramatically from the previous year due to redundancies and unemployment. Likewise, in 2020, hours worked dropped sharply due to COVID lockdowns, preventing many people from being able to work. What is interesting are the fluctuations observed in the hours worked by females over this period, which are characterized by more dramatic changes compared to the hours worked by males. This indicates that women are more susceptible to external impacts such as the economy than male counterparts. In general, males worked more hours than females in 2021. One of the contributors to the difference between hours worked by males and females may be that females undertake more unpaid work and caring for children. Data shows that women perform more hours of domestic activity, such as cooking and cleaning, than men. They also take on the majority of childcare activities. For someone like Alison, she may find herself spending 106% more time on domestic activities and 21% more time on caring for children than Bob. Combined with the pressure of meeting rising expenses and housing costs, this could be a major factor behind many relationship issues. At this point, Alison might be a bit fed up with paying bills, doing housework, and looking after kids. The good news for her, though, is compared to previous generations and even females raising children 20 years ago, there are less barriers to leaving an unhappy marriage. Female workforce participation and salaries are rising at the same rate as male counterparts. In addition, thanks to access to childcare rebates and other supports, the number of women citing caring for children as a barrier to working has decreased dramatically since 2002. Cost of living pressures, housing affordability, and lack of work-life balance are all factors that cause stress and negatively impact relationships. What should we do for Alison and Bob to either help them stay together or to better support them individually if they decide to separate? Here are some of our recommendations.
It is crucial the government consider tax discretions or interventions regarding housing affordability in the region. It is alarming that the data suggests that neither a family of four nor an individual at the current average salary are both currently in the process of being priced out of the area within the next 5 years. With the current first home buyer's grant of $10,000, it is a kind gesture, however falls significantly short of any form of relief considering average loans in the current outlook will continue to increase exponentially.
For families who stay together, the government should increase financial support for medium-income households and offer a pension card for 1 to 3 years to support healthcare, transport, and access to food banks and support. This will also allow financial and family counselling programs. There can also be the opportunity to provide a loan of up to $10,000 from family superannuation with the provision of making repayments at a later date, which is rewarded with a bonus supplement when all obligations are met. In case of separation or divorce, the government could implement short-term financial support by increasing at least 20% on the single parental rate for up to 5 years from separation or divorce, which would allow the bridge closer to the increased cost of living and CPI increases occurring during that time.
The time and stress required in caring for children is a major contributor toward relationship stress. Reducing the cost of childcare and ensuring adequate childcare places are available are crucial measures to ensure families have access to both work and leisure opportunities. This could be achieved by raising the rate of the childcare rebate, funding more community daycares and kinders, and allowing families to pay childcare fees through pre-tax income. For single or sole parent families, childcare support is often required on weekends when centre-based care is not available. Funding should be directed towards setting up programs that can provide affordable, outside of business hours care. For families like Alison and Bob's, who are experiencing so much pressure and stress from life, having the right mental health support at the right time could make all the difference on their relationship health. The Australian Government extended the Better Access to Mental Health Care initiative in recognition of mental health impacts of COVID and lockdowns. People could access an additional 10 mental health sessions on top of the 10 already covered by the initiative. We propose retaining this change as a permanent policy measure and extending it further to up to 40 sessions per year. In addition, for recently separated families, access to fully subsidised mental health support should be available to alleviate cost concerns. Children from recently separated families should be prioritised for free mental health care.
Thank you so much for taking the time to consider our recommendations and assessing the report that we have presented today. If you have any follow-up questions from your team, please feel free to reach out. to any of our team, and we'll be willing to respond as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.